What's up? Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome back to Behind the Layers podcast. My name is Kara Christensen. I am a trainer, nutritionist, a mother of 3, and a life coach to all around. Thank you so much for joining me on this second episode of Behind the Layers, where we are going to dive into whether or not the eating for your blood type and eating for your body type is in fact something that you should take into consideration. So I know there are many books and many studies that seem to be out there on that. So we are here to bust up those statistics and that myth, and let's just see if that is in fact something that we should hold near and dear to us. Hi, Bo. Hi, good to see you. I'm back. Okay, so today what I'm going to do is actually open up this guy that I really love listening to. His name is Dr. Berg, and he has something that I just came across the other day that kind of goes over these things that I've been weighing in my mind too, because it is definitely something that I've wondered myself, and there are so many studies in this day and age. You can't really tell what's what. Is it real? Is it not? Is the study worthwhile? So here's what I am going to do. I am going to go ahead and play that for you guys, and we can see that together. And you guys can chime in and tell me what you think. Let's see. What's up, Bo? I hope you had a good night, my friend. I am going to go over here and hit play on this.
Question relating to the blood type diet versus the body type diet. What's the difference?
Okay? Can you guys hear that okay?
Now, there's a book sold 10 million copies, Eat Right for Your Blood Type. Okay? And on the outside, it looks really legitimate. It looks scientific. It looks like there's a technology to it because they're breaking down 4 different diets based on your blood type. Type A, where you're doing more vegan meals, plant-based. Type B, blood, where you're doing plant-based plus some meats, but without chicken or pork, avoiding wheat and corn. Okay. Type AB, you're doing seafood, tofu, dairy, beans. Type O, higher protein, some fruit, paleo. Okay. So basically, the technology is all based on your blood type. But if you look at the research, there isn't very much research. It's actually very weak, if any, research. And the author also throws in some data about your personality too being affected by the blood type, which you lost me right there, because there's no way that your blood type is going to affect your personality, your emotional level, your behavior. It's not going to do that. So despite selling 10 million copies, obviously some people got some really good results, or they wouldn't have kept buying this book. It wouldn't have spread. But if you kind of look at these diets, you're cutting out a lot of junk food. You're cutting out a lot of foods that make you fat. So that's probably why it works for some people. So
that's true.
It's not that people don't get some results on that. Okay, so that's my opinion on the blood type diet. Okay, so now let's talk about the science behind body types. Okay, so what I observed is that you notice that if you look around, you have different shapes out there, right? And there's 4 primary shapes.
With that?
You have people that hold weight in the.
So I am a type O blood type, and I do gravitate towards meat, but I also feel like the nutrients and the proteins that you get in meat is so different than what you can get in any other type of bean or plant or supplement. So I do wonder if anybody resonated with those particular blood types, and that those those eating styles for the blood type if you do feel that you do gravitate towards that more. So even though there's not a heavy amount of studies on it, you know, I feel like it could be something to that. So let me know. Let me know what you think. I'm going to continue playing this because this is very interesting.
Stomach, and then some people that actually have a protruding belly, people that gain weight in the hips, some people that gain weight all over, not in any one location. So I was very curious about why that is. So what I did was I got my hands on nearly every single book on endocrinology that has been written, okay? And I found, like for example, when you have high cortisol, you can see the picture of the person's belly, where the fat goes, right?
Right.
So
True.
you can see a female here. There's a picture of someone that has too much cortisol. You can see this body shape. Found that interesting. And if you look at someone with liver damage, they can get this condition called ascites, which is fluid that builds up in a sac around the gut. And so they have a pot belly. A lot of people have this. And then you can get a fatty liver, which then spills over and it can give you visceral fat. So that can also come from the liver. And then I do know that estrogen dominance will actually put fat around the hips and the thighs, okay? If you have low estrogen, you don't accumulate fat in that location. Then we have the thyroid, and if the thyroid becomes sluggish, then you gain weight. Where? All over. So there's various pictures of the shape that someone would go into if they had a problem with this gland, okay? So then I researched what type of foods would improve the liver function. What type of foods would help lower cortisol? What type of foods are anti-estrogenic?
Now this is going to be interesting. This is where I say, get out your notepads and write these things down because these are the types of foods that you want to start incorporating into your diet because it's going to lower all of those things that he just spoke about. And he's devoted his entire adult life into studying the body, what makes you gain weight here or there in different body types, different blood types. He even talks about keto and intermittent fasting for people that don't have gallbladders or thyroids that have been removed. So, and how to get all of that stuff in check before you even take advice from a doctor that says you need to have your thyroid removed or your gallbladder removed, unless it's a very severe case and you have so much trouble sticking to a ketogenic or a fasting routine. So let's just see what he has to say here. These are the foods that are going to lower all of those things that he just talked about of where you're carrying weight in your belly, on your hips, and your thighs, and yeah, all the ailments.
And what type of foods are really good for the thyroid? Developing some type of technology to support these shapes.
Thanks,
Okay?
Joe. Thanks for letting me know.
Now that was in the first book. Here's the second book right here. It's called the New Body Type Guide, which is an upgrade from the 7 Principles of Fat Burning. Okay? And I made some significant, important changes that I want to talk about. So what I was missing in my first book was the foundational eating plan that would address one of the biggest problems out there, which is high levels of insulin or insulin resistance.
Which is
So
what
I
I'm
needed
always
some
talking
type of
about.
basic reference. So what we did is we used the definition of the word food, okay? And I want to read this to you. Food is that which is eaten to sustain life, provide energy, and promote the growth and repair of tissues. And the derivation of the word food is nourishment, which comes from providing nutrients to the body, okay? So basically we need food to provide energy and nutrients. Okay, so let's first talk about fuel. Okay, there's 2 types of fuel. You can run the body on ketones or glucose. Okay, we already know the person has been running on glucose their whole life. But here's the thing: if you were breastfed, you started out in ketosis. Breastfeeding is a natural thing for us to start out on, and when an infant is fed breast milk, they go right into ketosis. So our bodies really were meant to run on ketones, not glucose. And that's why we have such a huge reserve of fat to live off of. And we
a little, probably pushing it too far question I would like to ask is I wonder if, we did still have access to drinking breast milk. There are some women who just really produce milk like cows, like so much milk. And I wonder if we did start drinking that, if it would be a quicker way to get our bodies into ketosis and get started on reducing that fat level for people that are super obese? Interesting question, right?
We have such a small amount of stored glucose, okay, as glycogen, just simply because our bodies are not designed to, keep eating every hour and a half. And to be able to then combine intermittent fasting with ketosis, now we're kind of mimicking what our bodies are really designed to do, not consume meals every hour and a half. It's very unnatural. You create a lot of problems when you do that. So we have the providing energy from ketosis part, but
Now hold on. Let me just back that up. So when I was competing, and anybody that's in the IFBB or NPC or any of those competition worlds on stage, for our athlete team, we were eating every 2 hours, but we were also working out, 2, 3 times a day, intense workouts. So I think what he's talking about for all of the competitors that are joining me on my podcast today, yes, what he's saying is definitely cater towards the average Joe that's not going to be spending all that time in the gym and dedicating their every moment to their physique. So this is catered to the average person that may or may not even work out at all. So yes, our body is not built to do that type of eating regime.
But then what we want to do is we want to make sure that that eating plan has all of the required nutrients. And that's why we kind of enhanced a traditional keto plan and made a healthy version of it. We call it healthy ketosis, okay? So healthy ketosis and intermittent fasting is the basic plan that everyone starts on. And then in 2 weeks, we will tweak that plan with your specific body type. Okay, this is the icing on the cake. Or maybe I shouldn't talk about icing on the cake. But if you have a liver problem, then maybe we can support the liver with certain types of nutrients or foods. Same thing with the adrenal, same thing with the ovary. Okay, so I hope that cleared up the difference between body types and blood types. So I want to
So, if you haven't taken the quiz before, there is a quiz, and I can probably put it up on this. I'll put it up in the comments for this. There is a quiz you can take that will explain to you what your body type is. A lot of people don't know what their body type is. So, there is a quiz to learn that, and there is a specific regime to follow for your specific body type to get you the biggest results, because what might work for one person might not work for the other person. But in regards to fasting, when you're doing the intermittent fasting and the keto, it's very rare that it's not working for all, because all you're doing is a calorie deficit. You're giving your body, it's logics, right? It's body logics. All you're doing is allowing your body to spend more time working on those things that it needs to work on, distributing the fat, using the fat for fuel, and doing the things that it needs to do without you putting more for it to do, more work on the table, as to put it in different terms. So I definitely feel like, you know, learning your body type is going to be something positive for you regardless. Most people don't know anything about that, but it's interesting what he said about the blood types. So, if you guys didn't catch that, let me just back it up to the blood type real quick. So, the blood types are what he's going over right now, which I have been very interested in, and I've been faulty too of not faulty so much as, if there's studies out there, and there are people that are specialists saying that these things are factual and they work, I'm an advocate for at least giving it a go. And it would kind of make sense to eating to your blood type, but he's kind of going over that studies right now. Some people don't even know their blood type. So next time you go to the doctor, make sure you find out what your blood type is. But here's a
the
quick little
outside, it
recap
looks
right here.
really legitimate. It looks scientific. It looks like there's a
I
technology
forgot to
to
look
it
up
because they're breaking down
about
4 different diets based on your
eating to
blood
your
type.
blood type and body
Type
type.
A, where you're doing more
Here we go.
vegan meals, plant-based. Type B, blood, where you're doing plant-based plus some meats, but without chicken or pork, avoiding wheat and corn. Okay. Type AB, you're doing seafood, tofu, dairy, beans. Oh, higher protein. Okay. So basically the technology is all based on your blood type. But if you look at the research, there isn't very much research. It's actually very weak, if any, research. And
even though this is what he's saying, a top-selling book, 5 million copies, #1 bestseller, is teaching people how to eat for the blood type. So, it gives you reason to take pause and see, well, maybe that's not going to do much justice. This man, Dr. Berg, is so big on eating intermittent fasting in windows, and also eating, in that case, intermittent fasting is done by ages too. So what a 20-year-old or a teenager in intermittent fasting trying to lose some weight won't be the same as a 40 plus or 50 plus in intermittent fasting that are trying to lose the same weight. So, your body does change over the years, unfortunately. But even from my 20s to my 30s, I it was such a big difference. I was still eating whatever I wanted in my 20s, and then 30s, I'm kinda eating the same, but now I'm starting to change a little bit. So, that is definitely an eye opener. I'm sure a lot of you have also, um, been in the same realm in that regard. But, yeah, it's definitely an interesting progress of the way your body changes. I got an email from my doctor the other day about colonoscopy. I was like, "Oh, wait, what? Colonoscopy? That's for, like, older people." Age is just a number, right? It's just a number. But until you're falling into that realm, then you're like, "Whoa, what's happening? I don't understand it." Let me see I'm trying to remember where the places that you go to learn your body type, because it's just like a little quiz, and then you go, let's see, you find the quiz, you fill out the quiz, like a few questions, and then it tells you what your body type is. Your body type, let's go there. Let's see what this says.
Hey, what's up, you?
Okay, here it is.
hey, Dr. Berg here.
Okay, let me put this up. This is the body type. So once you do learn your body type, this is kind of what you need to know about that. What you do with that information after you learn what your body type is. So here we go. Oops.
Hey, Dr. Berg here. In this video, I want to talk about the body types. I want to talk about how to differentiate certain body types. I want to talk about the cause, the underlying cause, and some important tips on each body type. So let's get right into the first. Number one is the adrenal body type. As you can see, there's a sagging belly. Now, that belly is fat coming from a hormone called cortisol. It is not necessarily diet related. It is stress related. And that's why when you go on a diet, sometimes it doesn't work until you deal with the stress part of it. And there are techniques to pull stress out of the body, but I just wanted to point that out. Adrenal cases have problems sleeping. They have problems with a lot of issues with stress responses, feeling calm, memory issues, craving for salts and chocolate. The list goes on and on and on. But they mainly have the sagging belly. And if you were to recommend important things, the most important thing is reducing stress and getting sleep. As far as dietarily, they would need to not go on a low protein diet. Why? Because the body is breaking down more protein. Instead, they should eat a little more protein with each meal, and they should also have enough vegetables to give them the potassium they need, because they are, if it's lots of stress, they'll be depleting the potassium reserve, and they need that potassium, okay, just to get the adrenals recharged. So those are some couple things with the adrenal. Now, and number two, we have the thyroid body type. Now, if you look at that type, you can see that the weight is all over, not in any one location. They're just big everywhere. But the thing you need to know is that if you're diagnosed with a thyroid problem, and the doctor says you have a thyroid problem and we just need to give you thyroid hormones, and many times you don't feel any change or lose the weight, then that is a secondary problem, not a primary problem. Because again, if someone diagnosed you with a problem and they give you that thing, it should solve the problem.
Yeah.
So if there's a secondary problem, you never get better. So what happens? What's a primary thyroid? A primary thyroid condition would usually come from too much estrogen, from having heavy periods, or from the environment. It could also come from a lack of digestive gallbladder release. So if your liver is not doing well and you don't have enough bile, B-I-L-E, that's a digestive juice that comes from the liver, then you can't convert T4 to T3. So you can't have those converting, activating hormones. In other words, 80% of that thyroid is controlled by the conversion from T4 to T3 through the liver and gallbladder. If there's a problem there, you won't get the conversion, and then you don't fix that problem, you never fix the thyroid. So
Interesting. So I know several people that are on thyroid medicine that they got on thyroid medicine because the doctors saw the function of the thyroid um, not working well. So I'm wondering now, with all of the things I've been learning about from RFK with our food and the food health and in this country, and from Dr. Jordan Peterson, who's always talking about the way it affects your mental and your psyche, and the just overall the health and food drug administrations and how corrupt they are. I'm wondering if if doctors are more apt to just give you those band-aids and not focus on the real problem, which if you seems to me now learning this, that if just because you have a thyroid problem, if you're put on those thyroid pills, you're not even if you're not seeing the results, it could be your liver or your gallbladder. So in any event, any of those things, I know from this doctor, from following him for quite some time, any of those things can be fixed by changing the way you eat, changing what you eat, the way you eat. So I hope that he's going to go into that for the body types, and I will post that up in the comments. What the link is to discovering what your body type is. So let's listen to the rest.
we got a high estrogen issue. Secondly, we have a conversion issue from the liver and gallbladder. And thirdly, we could have a stress adrenal issue, which is right up number one, so bad to the point where, let's say you develop an autoimmune problem. That would be either Hashimoto's or Graves'. Again, these are just things to ask your doctor and talk about, because a lot of times they don't look beyond the actual hormone issue. So thyroid issues can even come from the adrenal, because most all autoimmune cases are stemmed from and caused from an adrenal, and that's why the treatment for all of them are adrenal hormones, cortisol, prednisone. That's what they use in autoimmune. It's a powerful anti-inflammatory. It also is intimately involved with your immune system. So anyway, I'm just giving you tips on what could cause potential thyroid issues. It could be a primary thyroid.
Interesting. So what he's saying is, even if you're going in and getting tested for your thyroid, and that's something that you feel that there is an issue, if they find that issue, then they might just put you on thyroid pills and that be that. But if you don't take the time to follow up with your doctor and tell them, hey, I'm on these pills and it seems to be a little bit working, but not really working that well. You're eating healthy, you're moving, you're exercising a little bit through the week. What's going on? Then I feel like actually having them test for the liver function and the gallbladder might be something that you have to initiate on your own, that not necessarily a doctor is going to dive into that for you. So good note
But
there.
typically, there's something that caused that. So we want to look deeper. People just don't one day end up with a thyroid issue. It's triggered by something.
Oh,
Okay,
well, I don't think so.
now, what
I
foods
like
should they eat
RFK.
if it's a
I like
thyroid?
his
It really
research.
depends on what caused it. If it's more of a gallbladder issue, they should eat foods that support the liver. If it's a more estrogen issue, they should eat foods to support balancing estrogen. So it really depends on, again, the source of it. Now, number three, this body type down here is the liver. This is mainly seen in men. It's a protruding belly.
Notice he's saying eat foods to change these things. So it's not go and get your estrogen blood type or go get your blood work done so you can get on pills. He's saying eat food, eat the foods that will fix these things. God gave us all these beautiful plants and foods and animals and things that we have. We have everything that we need. We don't need he didn't create, people to do to give us pills unless there is a chronic disease that you were born with. That it would be a different scenario. But if you put yourself in this situation because of the foods you've been eating for such a long time, not working out, and the things that you should be doing, moving more, not just sitting. We weren't meant to just sit at a desk and then go home and then sit some more. Like you're meant to move around and be active in some capacity. But this day and age, we're so apt to be a little bit more lazy and, sit around a lot more, especially if you have a job, you can't help it. Your job is sitting at a desk. I do like that they made those walking pads, but now that I'm an owner of a walking pad and learning to do walking while doing any other kind of work is actually very difficult, especially typing while you're walking. I mean, you have to be working with your left and right part of your brain at the same time while focusing and not falling off of that walking pad. So I like the concept of it, but it's not for everyone. And I get it. Like a lot of people are you're mentally drained when you're having 8, 10, 12 hours of mental work, and then where's the energy going to come from, right? Like to get you motivated to do a workout. So you just kind of have to just make yourself do it, because once you get started, once you put that right foot in front of the left and you get started, it's a game changer, because then you start to release those endorphins, you start to release that energy into your body and that adrenaline. So you kind of, in a way, pump yourself up when you're in a drained, just dead space. If you just get, like a lot of people will say, if I can just get to the gym, if I can just get there, then I can get started. But you just got to make yourself do that. If it's not at the gym, make sure when you're on your break at work, bring some sneakers with you, walk the stairs or walk outside around the building a few times. Like get out, get some vitamin D, get some sunlight, because you'll feel so much better being under those halogen zombie lights all day. Like just get out, even if you work from home. Take a break from what you're doing when you have your break and get outside and get some vitamin D in and get a good workout in. Or you can watch any one of my at home workouts. I got from 4 minutes to up to 30 minutes, whatever your time frame is, and get a good workout in. And that way you can get your circulation going, release those good endorphins, feel good about your day, feel good about yourself. I mean, it's a win-win all the way around. But notice that all the things he's saying is not go in and get more pills for this situation. You should definitely start learning how to eat for your body type, or eat for the issue that you have. You have too much estrogen, or you have too much testosterone. Eating the right foods to bring those back in balance is always going to be a good idea, above putting a band-aid on it. Let's see what else he has to say.
It's a pot belly, but it can also happen in women as well. These cases do not want to consume alcohol and
Oh,
wine
and then
before
there's
they go to bed
what
every night.
he was saying
It's a
about this.
pot belly. This body type down here is the liver. This is mainly seen in men. It's a protruding belly. It's a pot belly, but it can also happen in women as well. These cases do not want to consume alcohol and wine before they go to bed every night, because that alcohol destroys the liver. They also do
This is
not
great.
do well on heavy protein. So they do well being a vegetarian,
Okay,
with some small amount of protein,
interesting.
but they need to increase their vegetables because that is the food.
So this is very interesting, because I was just talking about, um, as I learned with learning about eating for your blood type is, um, hunters and gatherers, the body types. He's talking about specifically body types, but I was learning this about blood types. Is there are people that are able to exist and thrive on just plants, but there are some people who are trying put their body into a plant-based diet that really isn't going to respond properly because there's not the meat, because your blood type or your body type, you're someone who requires meat to thrive and to, you know, to really get into your best zone, operational zone for your body. So let's see what he has to say about this one. So this one, if you've got the rounded, all the way around rounded belly, not the first one where he was showing a hanging belly, but this is an all the way around rounded belly. He's saying the best is to lower your protein and more vegetables.
That helps the liver. But again, with some small amount of protein, but they need to increase their vegetables because that is the food that helps the liver. But again, we want to find out the source of where that's coming from. So instead of treating a liver, let's just look at the eating and get the eating straightened out and support it that way. Okay, the next body type would be number 4, the ovary type. The ovary type holds weight more in the hips and a little pooch below the belly button. That type is more of an estrogen dominant case, and those cases need to support estrogen balance. Well, what would that be? Well, cruciferous vegetables are the key food to help balance estrogen. And also, in their food, they want to make sure that they're not consuming just...
That's what us ladies call the fupa. So that's interesting to learn that that's an estrogen issue. I do have some clients that have had that. I did not realize that was a thing, but now I know. But that's it's just like a little pooch that happens to be right there above the bikini line. And some people do have that, and I didn't realize that was.
commercial food that has hormones in it. They want hormone-free type foods, especially dairy and
Good
meats.
luck getting
And
those.
those are just some general tips on supporting your body type. I hope this helped you differentiate. There's a lot of videos I have that go into each individual body type, but I wanted to kind of show you all of them in one short video. I'll see you in the next video.
So, yeah,
Hey,
that's
Dr. Berg here. In this video, I want to...
interesting. That's very, very interesting. So the area above the bikini line for a lot of females, and I can understand why more females in more of my female clients than men clients have had that pouch. And it's because of an estrogen, which would make sense. And most of the women have more of a issue with like saddlebags outside of the hips and bigger around the thighs than men. Most of the men would carry. So that's very interesting to learn that that's based on that. Let me pull this back up. Um, yes, that's what we're going. Yes, exactly. 1,000,000%. I feel like, yeah. Okay, what she's saying is that testing these out too with your own body and your own lifestyle is going to be something that you should just go with, like now we're in day 2 of the 15-day kickstart challenge. And since I'm weighing myself every day, I'm going through it with you guys. Remember, I talked about putting the weight on so I can show you how it will come off if you're sticking to the program. This program I've used for almost all of my clients, and no matter their blood type or their body type, it's always been effective. So, I mean, because it's pretty basic, and I know regarding how strict you are or what more I fine tune, but this is just an overall generalized plan to get started. That's why it's called the kickstart, because it's just kickstarting everything. It's resetting your biodome. It's getting all of that yuck out of your body, kind of just like a reset, how you like factory reset. So from there, if it's something that you wanted to stick to, we could fine tune it for your particular needs. But this is absolutely 100% a way to just get your body going, get your metabolism going right, get your balance, your pH balances all back in check, and just getting your body operating and moving at a better speed than what you originally had before you started it. But this is, I will make sure, yes, I definitely will put that link in. But let me just make a little note of that, the link to the body type, to your body type. So I'll have that in there later for you guys to take that quiz. And I would love to know, who I'm an endomorph. That's kind of how the the names are really funny. But let me see if I can pull that up over here. Let me type that in. There are so many different types, or 4 different types, but so many of you are different types, but this is still something that you're gonna benefit from this 15 days is what I said. How to exercise, let's see. This is, that's estrogen. Dr. Berg is his name. I know he's so great. Just because of how he breaks it down and he shows things. He breaks down and shows you, it makes you lets you understand it the best way. Best way to lose. Where is he? 3 belly types. Here we go. What is?
I want to talk about the 3 bellies.
Okay. Let me get guys. Because I know with my men out there, this is something that is going to be beneficial to you guys, because this is where you hold all of your weight, and for the most part, there are some rare scenarios where you are carrying weight around your hips and thighs, but that is clearly an estrogen. Your body's producing more estrogen. And also, you see some men that do have more fatty area on the chest. It looks like they might have, female breasts, but they are just from the extra estrogen that their bodies are producing. And probably now that learning, they're eating more foods that are catering to that estrogen, and might need to eat more foods that are going to decrease the estrogen in their body, since they are men. And most men don't want to carry around breasts that are like females.
Okay.
Of course,
if you look around
preference
and observe people, you're going to find out a lot of people have belly fat.
Okay.
But today we're going to differentiate 3 different types of belly fat. There are 3 different problems. And I wrote a book about this, and I talk about the 4 different bellies. But today we're going to combine 2 of those in one and kind of talk about the actual underlying causes, because that belly type is the same shape, but it's coming from 2 different causes. And so we have the sagging belly fat. Okay. That is either a problem with too much insulin or too much cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. The next belly is the protruded belly. You usually see this with the guy that's wearing the Speedo on the beach. He's thin, but he has this basketball pregnant stomach. Okay. That is not fat. It is a liver problem. The liver is very, very damaged, and this person is leaking fluid from the liver into a sac in the abdomen. So it's a fluid-filled sac. If you take one part of the belly and you tap on the other part, you'll feel there'll be a little bit of a ripple effect. Okay, so that's number 2. Now, the third belly is more of a lower pooch. You see this a lot in women, but it's also in men. It's more of a superficial fat. It's called subcutaneous fat. And it's not necessarily the fat that's around the organs. It's just superficial. And a lot of times it comes from too much estrogen. Okay, so let's first talk about the sagging belly. This is called visceral fat. Visceral fat is spill off from the liver. The liver is filling up with fluid and it has nowhere to go. So then it spills off around the organs, around the intestines, around the heart, around the pancreas. A lot of times the fat goes inside the organs as well. But this is more of a dangerous fat because it is obstructing the function of certain organs, especially the pancreas. And it is also releasing certain things that are increasing your inflammation, which then causes problems in the heart. It causes problems with insulin resistance. It creates problems in other organs. So this type of belly is usually coming from too much insulin, which is then triggered from too many carbohydrates. That's right. I know you're shocked, but too many carbs will increase insulin and put the fat right in your gut. Now, just because someone doesn't have belly fat doesn't mean they don't have visceral fat. There's a term called TOFI. That stands for thin on the outside, fat on the inside. So just because someone doesn't have a gut doesn't mean they don't have visceral fat. I just wanted to point that out. Now, I want to mention cortisol for a second. Cortisol is a stress hormone. What cortisol does is it indirectly increases insulin. So when you have a sagging belly, that effect is created by insulin, which is either coming from carbohydrates or stress from cortisol. So the cortisol makes your belly increase by triggering insulin because cortisol increases the production of glucose from non-carbohydrate sources. So in other words, it'll take your protein, it'll take your fat and turn it into glucose, which then triggers insulin. So when you go through stress, it will increase your blood glucose from other things, not carbs. So stress and sugar create the same effect. Belly fat and many other problems. And the term for that is called gluconeogenesis, okay? The creation of new sugar. Now, as far as getting rid of this type of belly, do you think exercise would be a significant thing to focus on? The answer is no. Diet. You're not going to see much results with exercise. Why? Because exercise does not decrease insulin in a significant way. The majority of the results are going to be from keeping your carbs low from your diet.
Right.
Now, exercise will help reduce stress, but it's not going to be a significant factor. Now, if your problem is stress, there's a lot of things you can do. I created some videos down below if you're new to my channel because so many people are going through stress, and I have some really great tips on that. But I will say as a side note, probably the biggest source of stress comes from other people. So there are certain personality types that can keep a person under constant stress. And unless they deal with that, man, there's going to be just a difficult time getting rid of belly fat. And the other point is sleep. If you can fix your sleep, you can greatly fix your stress. All right, let's shift to the protruding belly. This is a liver problem, usually cirrhosis, advanced liver disease. And the problem is this has been going for a long time. When you start generating fluid in your abdomen, your liver is pretty messed up. And the chances of you reversing it are pretty slim unless you catch it at some earlier stage and completely change your lifestyle. Things in the future, the prognosis is not very good for this body type. I mean, think about it. You have the liver that is so dysfunctional that is leaking fluid into a sac around your abdomen, and you have to go to the hospital every 14 days to get it drained out. Not a good situation. Now, if I was in that situation and someone were to give me some advice, I would radically 100% get on board and start changing my lifestyle. So it really depends on the person and how disciplined they are. Unfortunately, a lot of these cases with ascites is...
I agree. I think what he's saying, Bo, is that I raised the brow on that too, but I think what he's trying to say is that that alone is not going to fix this particular situation. Just working out alone, you can't still eat all the things that are making your gut fill with the liver leakage like that. You can't just fix it with exercise. You have to make a lifestyle change with what you're putting into your body. And I feel like if it's something that can be drained, like he's saying, oh, which sounds terrible, but if it's something that can be drained, then I feel like you have a new lease on life that you can now make that lifestyle change is how I'm hearing it. Make that lifestyle change and then you won't have that issue. So, I mean, gosh, I can't imagine that any of that feels great, but if you are just working out and then you're not, and then you're going and still eating the same way, I think is kind of what he was alluding to. That would be my educated guess on that.
Tied with alcoholics, and they have a very difficult time giving up alcohol. But number one, you're going to have to figure out what's triggering this. and
Let me go back
stop,
to where
get on board and start changing my lifestyle. So it really depends on the person
Interesting,
and
because
how
I'm always
disciplined
saying
they
those
are.
words in specific. Changing the lifestyle. You're not changing. I don't like to use the word diet because diet sounds like a fad and it's something you can go in and out of. You have to change your lifestyle. You have to change the way you look at things. And the biggest thing that actually really opened my eyes and changing when our daughter was going through cancer and we just kind of went off the rails and we're trying to self-medicate with food and putting all that weight on. The quickest way, well, first we did um, the what is it? The liquid diet. What is the juicing? We did juicing. So we did a 3-day juice and then a 5-day juice. And then at the point where you're drinking so many juices in that juice cleanse that it gets kind of just redundant and you get over it. So that's when we started just kind of, we would skip some juices and just fasting. And then I learned more about the fasting through this man, Dr. Berg. And really, that is such an easier way to get in the swing of things and not be just boggling your body down with food all the time, unless you're just vigorously working out, which most people are not doing that every single day all the time. So the intermittent, and we'll do a whole topic on that. We'll do a whole podcast on the intermittent fasting because it's so vast and there's so many layers to it. But it really is a game changer, and that is a lifestyle change. And you have to change the lifestyle. You can't, especially if you have a leaky gut like that, you can't just you don't want to go in and get your gut drained every 14 days. Like that's not a life. That's no life. So hopefully I didn't back this up too much. Okay, going back to the change. The change.
So it really depends on the person and how disciplined they are. Unfortunately, a lot of these cases with ascites is tied with alcoholics, and they have a very difficult time giving up alcohol. But number one, you're going to have to figure out what's triggering this and
You didn't even
stop that bad habit.
Changed your lifestyle.
Vitamin E in the form of tocotrienols, okay, is very, very beneficial for cirrhosis, which is fibrosis, which is like scar tissue in your liver. And so if you start taking about 300 milligrams of tocotrienols twice or 3 times a day, that would be a very smart thing. That can actually reduce the formation of fibrosis and maybe even reverse some of that.
Interesting.
The other types of foods that you need to focus on are foods twice or 3 times a day. Very, very beneficial for cirrhosis, which is fibrosis, which is like scar tissue in your liver.
Anybody so have cirrhosis?
Is very, very beneficial for.
That's something that also is able to get in check from just changing the lifestyle, doing the intermittent fasting. And like I'm always talking about the apple cider vinegar drink, even drinking, I know it sounds gross and I do have some videos on doing that, but drinking the extra virgin olive oil at night when you get up in the morning, just kind of resetting your biodome. But at night is specifically because it helps, especially if you're a late night snacker. If you, either one of those, if you drink the apple cider vinegar, tablespoon and 8 ounces, you could put lemon in it, or drink that cocktail down, or drinking the tablespoon of olive oil, which sounds gross, but it really does curb your hunger. It kind of settles everything in your stomach and kind of sets it back to zero. So it really is something really good. But I'm going to write this down because I do know some of my clients are suffering from cirrhosis. So this is interesting.
Or cirrhosis, which is fibrosis, which is like scar tissue in your liver. And so if you start taking about,
what did he say?
300 milligrams of tocotrienols twice or 3 times a day, that would be a very smart thing. That can actually reduce the formation of fibrosis and maybe even reverse some of that.
Tocotrienols up.
The other types of foods that you need to focus on are foods for the liver. That would be cruciferous vegetables. Moderate to low amount of protein. Not extremely low, but you don't want to go high protein because the liver is damaged and the person has lost a lot of liver function to metabolize that protein. So when you overload a damaged liver with too much protein, you don't help the situation. All right, the next thing you want to focus on is your microbiome. Your microbes in your gut actually make a secondary type of bile salt that can actually take the pressure off your liver and help the liver greatly. There's another remedy that I would recommend if I personally had cirrhosis or late stage liver disease. It's called TUDCA. It's a type of biosalt that's really.
So if you do know anybody that is suffering from that, maybe they don't even know that, but now you know what to look for, which is like one of those almost like a pregnant belly. It's not fatty, it's not squishy, it doesn't have rolls. It's a belly that just starts from the top and goes around, or just a pooch belly, but it's tight. Those are the signs of this particular thing, which is a liver dysfunction. So he's saying that if you're taking more vitamin E, and then whatever this, I can write that down, TUDCA, that is going to help tremendously. If you know anybody that has
Really
this
good for the
dysfunction.
liver. I just would recommend it if I was trying to deal with this advanced liver problem. Now, would exercise help? Very, very insignificant effect from exercise. You're going to have to focus mainly on your eating and avoiding certain things. All right, so now let's talk about the superficial fat, the subcutaneous fat, which, by the way, is not very dangerous. A lot of people have it, and exercise would be very, very beneficial in addition to cutting your carbs and doing intermittent fasting. I will say, though, it does take a long time to get rid of that last bit of belly fat. But if you increase the amount of fasting that you do and you follow these next recommendations, I think you can speed it up. But many times the person is estrogen dominant. Okay. So we don't want to increase too much estrogen because estrogen increases the superficial fat around the body, especially in the hips, the thighs, and the buttocks. So we want to lower estrogen. How do we
I don't
do
mind
that?
it being
We
in the
avoid
buttocks.
soy products. We avoid things with
Okay.
pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and we consume more organic
All
foods.
right. Well, that's
We
the
avoid
problem right there, is
dairy,
avoiding
which
the
by
foods with the
avoid
pesticide.
soy products. We avoid things with pesticides, herbicides, fungicides.
So sadly, I know, Bo, you don't believe in what RFK says, but he literally has dedicated his whole life to learning and studying all of this right here. Is like the farmlands, what's in the soil's pH level, what's damaging in the soils, if the soil is bad, how do you think our fruits and vegetables are growing? So that's kind of like the levels that we're at right now, is such a high percentage of pesticides in all of the fruits, even the organic fruits and vegetables. And that's where this gets tricky, that even if you think you're eating healthy, the fruits and vegetables that you eat are so filled with so many different types of pesticides that it's really hard to get away from. I mean, where do you turn other than growing your own vegetables? But not everybody knows how to do that, can do that, so has the time to dedicate to doing that. So, that's where it gets a little bit tricky in our day and age. Now, maybe 50 years ago when there weren't so many pesticides in the soils, but what I guess I believe in for RFK coming to the table, and the new administration, is him trying to put a cap on the pesticides that go into the soil, onto these fruits and vegetables, and getting into the soil, trying to figure out a way to make that healthier. So, I mean, it can only be beneficial, whether you believe in who he is or not. It's his research, it's impeccable, and I feel like it can only improve our way of life and our health if we start having more restrictions on what these farmers can put on top of their fruits and vegetables, or what they're putting it post post pick, after they're already picked out of the farms and the fields, what other people are putting on it to preserve it a little bit longer. Formaldehyde, I know, is not something that we should be consuming, but we consume all the time in our fruits and vegetables, unless you wash it tremendously before you eat it. So I know a lot of people don't do that. I didn't used to do that because it would come saying, pre-washed or whatever, but I guess it's not really pre-washed if, they're still doing the tests on the pre-washed stuff and still finding the pesticides all over it, so, and within it. I mean, you can't, like, rinse it out from the inside, so you're kinda screwed in that point, but let's just see what he's talking about here.
And we consume more organic foods. We avoid dairy, which, by the way, can greatly increase your estrogen. We want to avoid plastics. Yeah, that's right. Plastics are in your food. The average person in the US consumes the amount of plastic that equals the size of a credit card. So I've done a video on that. Check it out down below if you haven't seen it. And most of the estrogen in our body actually comes from testosterone. So there's a certain enzyme called aromatase that converts testosterone to estrogen. And when you have too much of that enzyme, you make too much estrogen. And so you can do a natural aromatase inhibitor to lessen the production of estrogen. And take a wild guess what foods would be good for that. Cruciferous vegetables. And then there's a concentrated cruciferous product called DIM. That would be a very good thing to take as well. And lastly, omega-3 helps to inhibit that enzyme, lessening the amount of excess estrogen. So there you have it, the three bellies. So now what you need is the exact plan of what to eat. I created that in this very easy to follow step-by-step playlist. Check it out right here. Hi guys, listen, I have 2,500 videos.
I did. He does. He has a lot of videos, you guys. I literally have probably watched half of those because he is so good at explaining and breaking down everything. As you can see, he's very informative. Why? So tell me about that, Bo. Explain to me why you feel so strongly about him. Um, I feel like he's when you watch him talk about his findings and what he's been all of his research and stuff he's done on studying the soils and studying our farmlands in this country. And, you know, if you watch to any length of his studies, going way back in his findings, I find it very enriching to learn about what's going on in our food, even with the organics. I mean, there's nothing you can do other than growing your own food, but even with the organics, you can't even fully trust in that, which is like super sad. But yeah, it's interesting what he's saying about the diet plan because I know he's going to go into keto and intermittent fasting is what he's huge on. But yeah, the cruciferous. I at first I never knew what the cruciferous vegetables, what he meant by that. But there's like nightshade vegetables. It's a whole nother thing. Believe. Oh, oh, I didn't know we were. Was it an argument to discuss things, Bo? We're just having a conversation. I didn't know we were in an argument. I was just asking you what you didn't believe. So that's kind of like a back and forth banter, right? That's kind of what a conversation is built around is you say how you feel about something and I say how I feel and hopefully we can agree on something or we agree to disagree. But either way, I don't feel like an argument has to ensue from, just having a conversation. I genuinely want to know why you don't believe in the stuff that he has to say. Going back over here because this is something I feel like is going to be very beneficial. I'm introducing you guys to Dr. Berg because he has literally dedicated his life to helping people like across the globe getting their life back in check without surgery. They're either like borderline diabetic or they're facing going into surgery for this thing or another. You got heart disease, you got liver disease, you got all of these things and he is giving you the tools that you need to fix it on your own without going into any like life altering surgeries, without doing anything other than dedicating your time and your focus and changing your lifestyle into focusing on the right foods you're going to put in. Exercise is definitely something that can help you with your stress levels, with the cortisol release in your body, but it is not everything. There's a reason that it's an 80-20, right? 80% of what you put in your mouth is what's going to cater to how your body functions, 20%. So that's why he does keep referring and saying back to, okay, so 20% of this, I mean, it does exercise can help, but it's very minuscule when you think about the numbers of 80/20. So 80% is what you put in your mouth. So learning the tools that you can use by just with the food you put in your mouth or don't put in your mouth is a huge benefit because it'll keep you from getting on those pills. And once you get on those pills, those start damaging all other sorts of things. And then sometimes you need a pill for that pill. So this is just giving you the tools to, helping you live your best life from the inside out, literally, and changing the biodome and the makeup that you got going on inside of your body with just the foods you eat without getting on or hopefully if you are on those pills being able to get off of them. That's the end goal, right? Because that will lengthen your life and your quality of life. So let's see what he has to say.
Okay, and YouTube, 2,500. So sometimes when you go to the channel, it's hard to find where to start because it's all random. So I wanted to create a beginner's video, the basics. So if you're new to my channel, if you have friends and family members that are new to my program, this is the first video to watch. Okay, so let me just kind of break it down. I'll make it really, really fast. Keto or ketosis. What does keto mean? When you burn fat, your fat breaks down into these things called ketones. Your body can then use those as fuel, okay? So your body can actually run on ketones. It's a much, much better fuel source than sugar fuel that most people run on. It's cleaner fuel. It creates a lot of other benefits, which I get into in other videos, okay? So keto basically means you're burning fat, okay? Healthy keto is a version of regular ketosis, but with a twist. A principle that I use is you don't lose weight and get healthy. You have to get healthy first to then lose weight.
That's right.
So getting healthy basically means, in relationship to eating, providing all of your nutrients. Okay, so you're eating foods that are high quality that provide all the nutrients. So you get the requirements that our bodies need. So what I recommend is something called healthy ketosis. All right, so that's the version. The other action that I recommend is something called IF. What is that? That's intermittent fasting,
you guys.
What is that? That is it's not a diet, it's a pattern of eating and not eating. So instead of doing 3 meals or 6 meals a day or snacks in between the meals, you're eating less frequently. Why? Because every time you eat, you raise a hormone, insulin. Too much insulin is very dangerous in the body. So what we're trying to do with healthy ketosis and intermittent fasting is reduce the excess of insulin. We're not trying to make it down to zero. We're just trying to get rid of the excess.
Like how it disappeared.
The vast majority of the population has excess insulin, but they've never been tested. The doctors usually don't test it. They're focusing on your blood sugars or blood glucose, but not fasting insulin, okay? I have videos on that, but just, you can watch in another video, but the point is that we're trying to lower insulin. So to do that, you need to eat less frequently. Let's say you start with 3 meals per day with no snacks, and then you go to 2 meals a day, no snacks, and that would be considered intermittent fasting. And some people do 1 meal a day, but the point is that it's just eating less frequent. It's not necessarily focused on lowering calories, even though.
So that's what that's what the first week that I'm doing with with this 15-day health challenge kickstart is pretty much trying to get you down in that. I mean, we just started it yesterday. Today is the second day. This is why you saw it from yesterday was a 10-hour eating window. Today is a 9-hour eating window. I'm slowly taking things out. As I'm taking these things out that are spiking the insulin, that are keeping the weight on and attributing to the weight issue that you have, inflammation, all of the things. So shrinking your eating window would mean you're shrinking your meals. It doesn't mean, oh, I only have 9 hours. I need to shove all that stuff in that I normally shove into like a 12 or a 14-hour window. It means I'm slowly trying to get you into a realm where you're going to be eating 2 solid meals a day. Maybe a day you only do 1 solid meal a day and a snack, but not eating breakfast, a big breakfast, and then a couple snacks, and then a lunch, and then a couple more snacks, and then a dinner, and then more snacks. So it's just weeding out all of the junk, kind of narrowing it down a little bit and allowing your body to get back on track. And hopefully, you'll learn that there are some wonderful foods that you're eating on the way. It's not so much changing the things that you're eating, it's changing when you're eating it. But also, if you start like, you know what, I don't want, after you start losing the weight, after you start, your body starts responding differently, after you start feeling all of the benefits of your life, getting your body getting healthier, your mental changes too. And hopefully that inspires you enough to want to learn, okay, I do love, let's say like I have some short videos that are on that are doing like my healthy take on Mexican food, or I'll do like a Mexican style burrito with like high fiber, low carb wraps, or just like breadless, bunless type meals that you can do. You can still pile the yummy stuff on it. Of course, not a lot of cheese or dairy for those that are have do have too much estrogen and are rocking that saggy belly that shows that you do have too much estrogen, that little fupa area. I would, back up on those things. But this is something that I can help cater to you if you did go onto my website, karachristiansen.com, and go to my services. Or you just reach out to me on any one of the Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and I can help guide you in a way that will help you stick to it after this 15-day plan that we're on right now. So let's just hear the rest of this.
You will be consuming less calories. The focus is not on calories.
Back it up a little bit because this
Lowering
is important.
calories. Even though you will be consuming less calories, the focus is not on calories. It's about eating less frequently. At the end of the day, we want to provide all the nutrients, so we need a certain amount of calories. The cool thing about intermittent fasting is that because you're eating less frequent, the requirements for nutrients go down because the body starts being conservative with its nutrients. It starts holding or retaining more nutrients. So what you would need for 3 meals a day, okay, as far as nutrients, you would need less nutrients for 2 meals a day, just because the body adapts. Sometimes people are concerned about losing muscle mass. Well, the other cool thing is that when you do intermittent fasting, certain hormones, like growth hormone, increases dramatically to protect the muscles from being lost. Okay, so your body tends to now conserve.
And that is such a big deal right there, because there are people that I have spoken to about intermittent fasting or fasting in general, and they say, oh, well, if there's not a whole lot of fat for your body to feed on, that's going to start feeding on the muscles. So it's interesting that he's breaking that down, that because your body has a way of protecting its muscles. Think about back in the day, God created Adam, and then he created Eve for Adam. And he created our bodies as human beings, not because we're always going to have constant food surrounding us. It's feast and famine. He created our bodies to be able to protect. Did you think that he's creating our bodies that if we've going a long time without food, that it's going to take away the muscles that we need to be strong enough to gather that food? So, our bodies are so intricate and so intelligent, and we don't give it enough credit. And I feel like, giving it a go, seeing how it actually works and the benefit. I remember the first time that I did the fasting, right? 24 hours seemed like forever. But I think I was so proud of myself for not for overcoming. I mean, there would be times where I would have like chips in my hand and I would put them down, or I snatched up a Oreo cookie and then I put it down. Like, just like the small feats over those things that, normally would rule my life. And I think that the excitement after the 24 hours, and I'm like, okay, I got this. So that 48 hours was not as difficult as I thought it was going to be once I wrap my mind around. You have to wrap your mind around it and dive all in. You just have to be like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm doing it. I don't ever have to do it again if I don't want to, but I'm gonna just give it a go and see how it works. So for me, I don't like to practice anything that I don't preach or haven't, or preach anything that I haven't practiced at one point in time. So I like to always learn about it and The 3 day mark is when you really get to see the true benefits. A lot of people don't even allow themselves to get to that point. But that third day, I tell you, I'm talking like if you didn't eat one day, then you didn't eat the next day. After you wake up from that sleep, that third day, it's insane how the clarity, the mental focus, just like the energy level, it's just so different. It really is so wild that how your body responds in a way that you could never even imagine. I do suggest you trying it. I really do.
Serve protein as well when you do intermittent fasting
Let me back it up a little bit.
dramatically to protect the muscles
Okay, so
from
this is
being
what he's saying
lost.
about if you're fasting and you're worried about it eating
And
into your
hormones
muscle,
like
is why
growth
it doesn't.
hormone increases dramatically
Your
to
growth hormone
protect the
increases.
muscles from being lost. Okay, so your body tends to now conserve protein as well when you do intermittent fasting, so you're not going to lose muscle mass. So the
Nice.
two main things that help you lower insulin are the reduction of carbohydrates. I'm talking about the sugar, refined carbs, the grains, the pasta, the cereal, the biscuits, the waffles, the juice, the alcohol. I have a
All the
lot of
yummy
videos
stuff.
on this right here, like a ton, but that just kind of gives you the summary. And also, number two, eating less frequently. What we're doing when we actually drop carbs and we eat less frequently is we're adapting to fat burning. You're actually making new cellular machinery to run your body on fat fuel, okay, and no longer on sugar.
That's where you wanna be, that's your
Now,
sweet
what
spot.
happens when you consume too many carbs, the insulin comes in and takes it out and converts it to fat. So a lot of the fat on your body right now has came from the carbohydrates, not necessarily the fat that you ate, but the carbohydrates that you ate. The other thing that people don't realize is this: in the presence of too much insulin, you can't lose this fat. So if you have a stubborn metabolism and you can't lose weight, we know you have too much insulin. Is there a quick test to know if you have too much insulin? Yes. Just look down right now, and if you could see your belly, you
That's
have
what
too
I'm
much
always
insulin.
saying. Look
Because
down.
these are the
See
main
fat.
symptoms of high insulin:
You
belly
have
fat,
you have room
high blood pressure,
to fast.
high cholesterol, fatigue, especially after eating, decreased cognitive function, lack of focus, poor memory, moody, irritable, sometimes depressed, grouchy because of the blood sugar issue,
I'm sorry, I missed what
cravings
he's
for
saying on
carbs
all
for
this.
sure,
Sorry, I was talking. I mean, if you have any of those symptoms that he's talking
focus,
about, focus issues, people with ADHD or that
decreased
memory
cognitive
loss,
function,
like you're trying not to say that, this isn't
high cholesterol,
a dementia thing, but they are
fatigue,
trying to link the doctors now are trying to link dementia with some type of I think they were trying to call it, type 3 diabetes. So, it's interesting how he's saying that if you have, memory loss or things that are related to what, people with that are diagnosed with dementia, how related to food it is. So, I mean, it's interesting to learn about.
especially after eating.
Okay, I missed, like, the whole part that he's saying right here. My bad.
Best to know if you have too much insulin? Yes. Just look down right now, and if you could see your belly, you have too much insulin. Because these are
That's a
the
quick
main
and easy
symptoms of
test.
high insulin: belly fat, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatigue, especially after eating, decreased cognitive function, lack of focus, poor memory, moody, irritable, sometimes depressed, grouchy because of the blood sugar issue, cravings for carbs for sure, and you're hungry all the time, especially between meals. When you get your body into fat burning, and now your body is burning fat between meals, because before it wasn't, it was dependent on your diet and dietary sugar. So now when you're burning your own fat, wow, you get rid of the hunger. Okay, you're not hungry anymore. It makes it easy to do this. You
It's
don't
so
crave anymore.
true. It is so true. So, going back to the fasting, 2 to 3 days, when, fasting for 2 to 3 days really gets everything into perspective. Like, all of those things that he just listed was stuff that I was feeling when I was putting this weight on to do this 15-day kickstart program in real time and show you guys how effective it actually is and how quickly it can work. Putting that weight on and eating all of the stuff that catered to all of those things, every single one of those symptoms was 100% something that I brought on to myself, which was, mood swings and feeling tired and craving carbs more and craving sweets and just like all of these things, literally all of these things. He was even getting headaches, which was just terrible. So, putting it into perspective, it's so true, and then going into the where your body is starting to burn that fat, and it doesn't burn your fat just when you're working out, it's burning that fat the entire time. So you can lose a significant amount of that fat, whether it's around your organs, your belly, your hips, your thighs, wherever you're carrying it. A lot of people see that I put them on this plan, the change around their face is like tightening up because your body is also getting rid of all of those dead cells, all the dormant, the bad cells that aren't even serving you any purpose anymore. And it does a cleanse. It washes those out. There's the cell rejuvenation and turnover is so fast that you really start to see those big improvements and those big differences so quickly. So it's impressive what can be done in 3 days of a fast.
That's why healthy keto and intermittent fasting is very successful long term, because it allows you to stick to it, because you're not hungry all the time, you're not craving. Sometimes when you look up keto, you'll see this little pie chart thing right here. It'll say 20% protein, maybe 70% or 65% fat as far as the total calories, 5% carbs. Okay, this is very confusing for people because you have to calculate calories into grams and this and that. This is the simplicity right here. If you just envision your plate, okay, this is your plate.
Right.
Half of the plate should be salad or vegetables, okay? A quarter of the plate should be protein. And the other quarter should be fat. Mm-hmm. So this 65 or 70% fat, which seems like a lot of fat, now remember 1 gram of fat is more than twice the calories of carbs and protein.
You didn't see any.
So this is misleading. In reality, the volume of fat is really only, a quarter of your plate.
And a lot of pyramid where it's got the bread and the pastas and the things like that as a kid growing up. You don't see any of that in this pyramid. It's literally vegetables, protein, and fat. And those are the things that your body is meant and built to run off of, all the extra junk that you put in to clog it up. I'm telling you that the intermittent fasting is so big. It is so huge. And then, of course, working your way into the fasting. But I do, we're in the 15-day right now. This is day 2. But I do also do the challenge together because it's better when you have a support system and you have other people doing it, because you can kind of reach out like, oh, I'm dying, I really want this. I'm like, no, you don't. You have other people to pick you up and say, you got this, you can do it. And you're so much more proud of yourself that you did it. And then if you don't do it, then you're stressing out and you're releasing more cortisol, and that cortisol is turning into insulin, and the insulin is causing more stubborn fat, which is going to make it harder for you to lose that. So it's all like a vicious cycle. So doing it when the challenges arise, or having someone to do it that's with you, maybe like a friend or a family member, doing it together, doing the fasting and just getting your insulin back in check is going to be the quickest way for you to start getting your health back and in order, and just resetting your biodome, resetting your body, your metabolism, just getting all those things back in check and get started on a healthier pattern is simply, you don't have to get a shot, you don't have to get pills, you don't have to get any of that. It's just dedicating your time to changing your lifestyle and changing what you're putting in your mouth. You don't even have to add working out, even though working out caters to releasing the good endorphins, and those good endorphins cater to bringing your stress levels down. And when you bring your stress levels down, you don't release so much cortisol, which turns into insulin, which turns into fat. So, your knee bone's connected to your hip bone. It's all relative and all connected. It all just keeps, one thing's to the other, but the stress thing is a big deal. And if you've watched this podcast from the beginning, you're going to learn that, that is an actual thing. People that have too much stress, that have big bellies, or they're catering to these big bellies, is a stress level thing. It doesn't even have anything particularly to do with the food that they're eating. Like, I don't know if you've ever known anybody that's like, "Oh, I'm working out all the time and I'm eating good and I'm still," but they have a high stress job, or they're around friends that are just super stressful, or situations or scenarios or whatever. They're in such a high stress scenario that they don't have an out there. Their just body is just constantly releasing the cortisol, and the cortisol is turning into the insulin, and the insulin is making that fat stay around and very stubborn to lose. So the quickest way around that is to get your stress in check. And one of the ways you can get rid of some stress is a good workout. I mean, I have workouts that I have up on my YouTube, and it's only 4 minutes. All you gotta do is dedicate 4 minutes, and your body can release that cortisol, which will bring that stress down, which will help you release that fat, so your body can use that fat for fuel and not just holding on to it, and then you're releasing more stress. So that's where the workout comes into play here. Oops.
This fat is actually mixed with the protein, so it's not as much as you think. And then we
Right.
have this small amount of carbs out here, just to keep it really, really simple. Okay? And healthy keto and intermittent fasting is not just about weight loss. It's about getting you super healthy, for reducing inflammation, for helping your cognitive function, helping your overall mood, making the body work better. Okay? So now that you have the basics, now you can go to the rest of the videos. Thanks for watching. Hey, if you're liking this content, please subscribe now, and I will actually keep you updated on future videos. All right, guys, you just watched the basic plan, the overview. This is video 2. We're going to dig into some more of the details.
So this is
This is mainly for people that are new to my channel. Again, I have 2,500 videos.
He does. He has so many videos. But this is a continuation. I think he said 5 videos that help break down what to do, what to eat. A lot of people just don't even know what keto is or what intermittent fasting is. So we started out the podcast talking about the different body types, the different body, learning what the different body types are, learning your different blood type. Although we didn't dive too deep into the blood type because he kind of debunked that pretty quickly. But the eating for your body type, learning what your body type is, working out for your body type. Mainly, this is discussing the types of foods that you should or should not have according to whatever the body type you have. Like, for instance, if your body type is carrying so much extra, like saddlebags and the big thighs and a bigger leg and a bigger belly, you might have, it's too much estrogen in your body. So you don't want to eat foods that contain estrogen, and you're just putting more on. So he's just kind of breaking down all of the different ways to eat. Now that we spoke about the body types, now it's talking about the ways to fix that with the food. Not drugs, not any kind of shots or pills, but actually fixing the issue with the foods that we eat. Sometimes he does mention like taking, because it's very difficult for some supplements to get enough of just from the food. So he does recommend, like taking additional of. I know sometimes he talks about potassium, even though bananas are good, but sometimes bananas have too much sugar, so that's gonna cater to, you know your, if the sugar's not burnt off from a workout, that now that sugar is going to turn into insulin, which is going to turn into fat. So he does offer some supplemental ways. It's not a prescription, it's a supplement that's all natural, that he offers or suggests to take rather than eating it in the food way, because maybe that food has a little too much sugar in it, and that would be the only reason. Like, he did mention the potassium, and then he also talked about the vitamin E, and then the omega 3s. So omega 3s, some people can't get or eat fish because they're allergic. So just taking an omega-3. They do have for some type of, I have no idea how it works, but if you're allergic to eating shellfish, but you take a supplement that has, kelp or any type of, like, a round shellfish, type of thing in it, that it doesn't affect you the same. So it's very interesting how that works. But, yes, let's see what he has to say about this.
Videos, and you can get lost in all the details. This is the second video that you should watch. And we're combining healthy keto with intermittent fasting. Okay, all right, number one, you want to go as long as you can in the morning without eating. You just don't want to eat unless you're hungry. That's the thing that you need to focus on, because so many people eat when they're not hungry, and they're wondering why it's not working, they're not getting
Mindset.
results,
Yeah.
because the body finally is burning fat, and then you start eating. What will happen is you're going to raise insulin,
It's
and then
finally
your
doing what you want it
insulin's going
to,
to
and
come
then you keep
high, and
pushing
then it's going to push your blood sugars low. Then you're going to be hungry an hour and a half later. So really, it's what you ate the night before that's going to dictate if you're hungry in the morning. If you do this correctly, like I'm showing you, with just 2 meals a day, you're going to wake up in the morning not hungry. So the goal is to go as long as you can. You may find that you can't go all the way to lunch. You have to eat at like 11 o'clock. Fine, eat your breakfast there. Okay, but what will happen, you want to keep pushing it to the point where your body is fully adapted to fat burning. You're no longer sugar burning. That could take 3 days up to 5 days. Sometimes it takes longer to get into full ketosis. All right, so that's the first rule of thumb.
You see how he says you're no longer sugar burning, because we have so much sugar in our bodies, so much insulin. We're trying to get that insulin down so your body can actually start running off of its fuel in fat. So then it starts burning the fat, but it takes a minute to get your insulin down before it can get to that level. So that's what he's talking about, running off of sugar is your insulin. So we're so much sugar in our foods we don't even know. We're just eating so much sugar all the time. But the bringing that insulin down, your body doesn't even start burning that fat until you get your insulin in check. And he's saying, how do you know if you have too much insulin on your body? Well, you look down, and if you see any, or sit down in your chair, do you see like your belly rolling over, or can you look down and see a belly, or your thighs, or any amount of excessive fat on your body, then you have too much insulin. And even for people that are they call skinny fat, you know, you just because you're not seeing, just because you look small and you don't have a big belly, are you can you pick your skin, or like pull fat pads out? You still not saying that you're fat, just saying that you can still have these issues with having fats around your organs and fats on your bodies that are catering to your tiredness, that are catering to your mood swings, that are catering to all of the things that you got going on with your mental and physical. It doesn't necessarily mean you are carrying an obese amount of weight. You can still be suffering from one of these things, that you know, just from eating the things that you shouldn't be eating, that's catering to those mental instabilities. Hey, it would be pretty great to get off of, for people that I know that are on antidepressants and things that make where their mood is just so melatonin and lethargic, almost like they're not being able to fully experience all of your emotions. But if you start eating the way that you should be able to get that in check, those mood spikes and that imbalance of the chemical that you're aiding with the prescription.
Um, if we can do 2 meals with a 4-hour window, okay, and what that means is that
This is what we're
we eat
working
and then we
towards, you
wait 4
guys.
hours and we eat
Right
again.
now we're at
That's
9. So yesterday we started at 10. And now we're at 9 today of your eating window, and what he's talking about is a 4-hour window, but that's what I'm doing, is like slowly building you up into that realm where you're gonna be in that space where you feel comfortable, where slowly my whole shtick is small feats equal big rewards. So not to overwhelm you with the ultimate goal, but this is how we're slowly doing it. If you follow along with my Insta or YouTube, um, or Facebook, I'm posting up every day and I'm posting my own progress because I'm going through it with you guys so you can see it in real time, that it actually the program works. Otherwise, I wouldn't have spent that time putting that weight on if I didn't feel like it was going to be manageable to take back off.
If we can do 2 meals with a 4-hour window, okay? And what that means is that we eat and then we wait 4 hours and we eat again. That's your window. That will give you a 20-hour fasting period. That's incredible. That's enough to see some serious results. The only time that would not work for someone
Mine
as
is
far as weight loss goes is, let's say they're going through menopause, they have a slow
about now.
thyroid condition, and they have a history of dieting, and their metabolism is so slow, they're going to have to push these together and have 1 meal a day, and then they will lose weight. And there are even people that still will lose just a little bit on this, and they might need to go even longer because their metabolism is
I'm gonna back
so
that poison.
dead, lose weight. And there are a slow thyroid condition, and they
Okay, so interesting that he's talking about 1 meal. That eating 1 meal a day, whenever I would suggest that, I just learned from over time with my clients, whenever I would suggest to, this is what we're going, I don't even suggest that anymore because it's so alarming for some people that to hear, "Oh, you're gonna be fasting or you're only gonna be eating 1 meal a day." It's so alarming for some people that, um is it still, Bo? Is it still blurry? I hope you guys can see me, hear me okay. But, um, it's so alarming for them to hear you're only gonna have 1 meal a day, so that's why I just talk about the program, like, just follow the program, follow as I'm gonna say, and I promise it's going to work. This is kinda how I'm doing it for the 15-day kickstart that we're on right now. We started yesterday, 10-hour window. 10 hours of a window might sound like a lot for some people that have already done intermittent fasting before, but for those that have never done this before, you realize like, "Oh, wow, I do eat all over the place." You think, "Oh, of course I can eat all my meals in 10 hours," but when you realize from the time that you put the first bite in your mouth to the time that you eat your last snack or whatever you're eating in the evening, you realize how many hours of the day you're at. It's almost like a self-check, right? How many hours you're actually eating each day, which is overwhelming in itself. But it really is an eye opener when you learn, oh, okay, I should just keep it in a 10-hour window. Then we slowly take it to the 9-hour window and then the 8-hour window. And we're slowly weaning our body into a better process. So it's not so start. Once this kickstart, the 15 days, once we get your body reset, rebalanced, and ready for more, then we can take it up a notch and then you're gonna start seeing extra big results. But right now, you're just kinda slowly weaning. You're probably already losing some weight, especially if you're cutting out the things and doing the things that I said, which is cutting out the sugars, cutting out any additional sugar, no cookies, no extra any kind of sugar, no pudding snacks, no whatever the situation, and then no fried foods is what we started today, no fried foods. So, we're sticking with the no sugar and the no fried foods. So those are 2 very big things. No soda drinks, anything like that. Those are so huge that by the time that you've got 5 days in, you're gonna see such a difference already just from cutting those things out, never mind going down to I didn't take carbs out. I didn't like cut breads out or anything like that. I just took away the sugar, took away the fried food, and just drinking water or herbal teas. But you can use sweetener. Sweetener would be monk fruit or stevia. Um, but not you're not gonna put, like, like, regular sugar equal or sweet and low or anything like that. Something that your body can quickly process is what we're gonna go to. You will be able to move into the, cane sugar realm, but there's no need. If you're fine with Truvia or, I'm sorry, stevia plant or the monk fruit plant, I haven't seen anybody have any reactions to that thus far. So, this is this is kind of the realm we're going off of. We're going towards, but we're just taking it in a slow measure there, so it's not so overwhelming and a shock factor where you're like, "Oh, I definitely can't." Oh, but my original thought is, so before I learned of the shock factor and how it was, affecting some of my clients, and the reason they were resistant to even trying it or giving it their full go is because it's so shocking to even think of. But then once they saw the benefits and once I switched up my method and my approach and I did the 15-day kickstart, that was a smoother way of easing into it, and then it wasn't so shocking and it wasn't so bad because they've already started losing weight, their inflammation is already getting in check, they're already starting to see the benefits, reap the rewards, so it wasn't so stark when I said, "Okay, we're gonna go to a 3-2-1 none or a 2-1 none." So 2 meals a day, 1 meal a day, no meals a day, 2 meals a day, 1 meal, like that. So but at first, you can't just dive into unless you can. Unless you're mental like that, like not mental like that, unless you are able to set your mentality like, "I'm in, I'm going all in, and I'm only gonna eat once today, and that's that." So, if you're able to do that, that's great, but if that's too alarming and there are many ways to get to there, and the 15-day kickstart that I have going on right now is definitely a great way to ease yourself into what he's talking about right now. Let me finish this up. I'll finish this up and then we'll
is, let's
be
say
all
they're going through
spankery.
menopause, they have a slow thyroid condition, and they have a history of dieting, and their metabolism is so slow,
Mhm.
they're going to have to push these together and have 1 meal a day, and then they will lose weight. And there are even people that still will lose just a little bit on this, and they might need to go even longer because their metabolism is so dead. And I've had this happen, not to a lot of people, but certain people that just, from birth, they just had a slow metabolism for one thing or another, and they need to go, like, probably eat every other day. Okay, that's just what they need to do until the system heals. But for everyone else, we're going to talk about what are you going to eat on this first meal and the second meal. I've surveyed a lot of people, and this is what they eat, and this is what I eat. Eggs. I do 4 eggs a day. You can do 2 to 4 eggs. Pasture-raised organic eggs, they're a little more expensive.
The interesting thing that I learned about, the body with eggs is that if just from having 2 eggs per week, 2 eggs, just by eating 2 eggs with the yolk per week decreases your chances of getting Alzheimer's or dementia by 50%. Just 2 eggs, just 2. I mean, and as my sister put it, who, she's really big on, organics and the healthy life, eggs or killing animals for whatever the cause, healthy or the eggs that are given to you, it's a gift from it. These are not babies in there. You're not eating their babies. These are eggs like we have eggs. They're laying eggs. These are eggs that they are, as my sister says, gifting to us. They're gifting to us, and you're not killing an animal for it. You're not killing their babies. You are simply just eating such
But they're
nutritious
worth it. Now, it's really
eggs that
important.
will also help aid in so many things. There's so many essential vitamins and proteins and nutrients in these eggs for us that I can see why God put the chickens on the earth for us to have said eggs, because it is absolutely beneficial. Just 2 eggs, and he's talking about eating these on a daily basis. So, the chance of keeping your cognitive intact, keeping your mood stabilized and balanced just from having those eggs is going to be a huge benefit in itself.
Eat healthy eggs because the factory farm eggs are just, this is what I eat. Eggs. I do 4 eggs a day. You can do 2 to 4 eggs. Pasture-raised organic eggs, they're a little more expensive, but they're worth it. Now, it's really important to eat healthy eggs because the factory farm eggs are just so bad. They're just terrible. Then we have avocado. Avocado has tremendous amount of potassium and really good fats to help you go longer. Cheese. Now, if you are a guy and you have a prostate condition, don't do the cheese. But if you have a high quality organic cheese from a grass-fed cow, goat's cheese is even better, not a problem. Okay, so then we have bacon. Some people don't want to do bacon. That's totally fine.
goat cheese.
I like bacon. I do bacon from the farmer's market. If you're going to go to the health food store, get the nitrate-free organic bacon with sugars less than 1 gram. Okay. Bacon, by the way, in pork has high levels of vitamin B1. And for those people that are saying bacon is unhealthy, yet they're consuming chicken, I would beg to differ, because chicken is really disgusting unless you're doing, again, from the farmer's market. Okay, nut butters. You can do almond butter, peanut butter, make sure there's no sugar in it, maybe a couple of tablespoons. Now, the reason for this is to give you enough fat, especially in the beginning, so you can go longer, okay, without getting hungry. You know, you're eating at 12, you have a hamburger or a piece of meat, or a lamb or whatever meat that you want, 3 to 6 ounces. Let's say you're younger and you have a faster metabolism, then you do 8 ounces. Let's say, for example, you're an athlete, you do 8 ounces. Let's say you're a very large person, you need more protein, do 8 ounces. I wouldn't want to go over 8 ounces per meal. Now, we're not talking about actual protein grams, we're talking about the actual product of meat itself.
The size, the weight.
3 to 6 ounces or 8 ounces. So you don't have to calculate the grams inside that meat. It is a big difference. And then we consume our vegetables. You can steam them. You can have some raw, or the salad. I do a lot of salads. We need a large amount of salad. So some people break up their salad between this meal here and this meal, and they do maybe 5 cups and 5 cups, or maybe 4 cups and 4 cups. I mean, 4 cups is not that much. It's kind of like a medium-sized salad.
I can tear some
I personally do all of my salad at one sitting. I'll do like 10 cups, and sometimes I'll do more than that. So I'm used to it. If you feel worse with consuming those greens, that means that your microbes are not quite in the right place. You might have a condition called SIBO. I'll put a link down below, in which case you want to cut back on your vegetables, because what's going to happen, the fiber in the vegetable is going to retain fluid. And you're going to feel bloated, and your weight loss is not going to come off. It's not because you're not losing weight, it's because you're retaining fluid. Okay, just realize you want to feel good after consuming this, and you may have to eat small amounts and gradually increase it, because guess who's eating the fiber from your vegetables? The microbes. And they might not be plentiful enough to do that. So
what did he say?
Sometimes I'll do more than that. So I'm used to it. If you feel worse with consuming those greens, that means that your microbes are not quite in the right place. You might have a condition called SIBO. I'll put a link down below, in which case you want to cut back on your vegetables, because what's going to happen, the fiber in the vegetable is going to retain fluid. And you're going to feel bloated, and your weight loss is not going to come off. It's not because you're not losing weight, it's because you're retaining fluid. Okay, just realize you want to feel good after consuming this, and you may have to eat small amounts and gradually increase it, because guess who's eating the fiber from your vegetables? The microbes. And they might not be plentiful enough to do that. So there's many different reasons. I'll put a video down below just on that one topic. Olive oil, balsamic vinaigrette is a great dressing. Maybe a handful of nuts, some seeds.
All that.
Because you want that fat. So this is like one option of a meal. This is another option of a meal, just to give you an example. I put a link down below to my website, because I have a lot of different examples of different meals. I have a whole recipe, but this would be an example of a typical meal for someone. Okay, let's say you do fish. I love salmon. Salmon is one of the best proteins because it has omega-3. We want to do quality don't like salmon because it's protein. So you can also do sardines.
Fishy
Believe it or not, there are good fats in sardines. I did a video on that. Or seafood.
I can't do sardines.
This gives you the iodine. So you do your fish or seafood,
it's not my
your
jam.
Salad. This is for your dinner. And a fat bomb. What is a fat bomb? It's like a little cookie with healthy fats in it. You can make recipes for this. A lot of people consume a fat bomb just to get them satisfied so they can go from one meal to the next. As your body adapts to fat burning, you probably won't even need that because you're burning your own fat. But in the beginning, it's really helpful. Here's another option for some. You can make recipes for this. A lot of people consume a fat bomb just to get them satisfied so they can go from one meal to the next. As your body adapts to fat burning, you probably won't even need that because you're burning your own fat. But in the beginning, it's really helpful. Here's another option for some food. You can do chicken with the skin, preferably. nice and crispy, or
It's the
chicken
skin,
wings.
huh?
Let's say you do, again, 3 to 6 ounces of chicken or chicken wings. You do your protein. It's moderate protein. Asparagus, okay, or any other vegetable that you like, or your salad. And then you do
Asparagus.
olives as your fat.
Asparagus
Okay.
I ate
I
so much
do a
of
lot of nuts
when
myself. I do
competing
that after the
with some
meal
asparagus.
to the point where I'm like really satisfied so I can go longer. But the key is not snacking at night. So you want to add enough fat to
That's
go from
right. So you eat so much asparagus when you're competing on stage, because what's in that asparagus is a diuretic. So it does help you expel the extra water weight that you have on your cell. So even though it's not the best tasting, you do get used to it. And because you're eating in such a vigorous schedule, you have to. It's really about timing, keeping on that time track every few hours. You whether you're around a microwave or an oven or any way to heat that up, you're just eating that asparagus cold along with your fish cold. So, you learn to just consume the food for fuel rather than an enjoyment is kind of how it changes your aspect on eating and food in general when you're competing and you're just eating for the betterment of your body's operation. So, it does change things quite a bit. I don't know, as soon as he said asparagus, it just triggered those thoughts. We'll finish it up and then, we'll be done for the day.
from this meal all the way to breakfast. Now, the number one weakness
Gotcha.
people have, I just realized, was
A little bit,
snacking at night. So you want to add enough
because
fat,
this is big. A lot of people do
like
this,
really satisfied so I can go
snack at night.
longer. But the key is not snacking at night. So you want to add enough fat to go from this meal all the way to breakfast. Now, the number one weakness people have, I just realized, was boredom. So you're going to have to keep really busy right here and make sure you're not
It's
bored so you don't eat the
true.
wrong thing.
People are bored
You
and
can
they're just
consume your
like,
vitamins.
let
It's
me
not a
just
problem any
continue on
time of the
eating
day. Apple cider vinegar, a teaspoon, and some lemon is really good to have
apple
when you
cider
drink water.
vinegar.
Coffee in the morning, try to just do one. You can do tea. You can add some bulletproof. That's MCT oil, coconut oil. You can blend that in your
MCT oil is
drink
huge
if you
to me,
want,
guys.
especially in the beginning to allow you to go without having the first meal. Not a problem.
Mhm.
But if you find that
Pretty
that
much
slows down
put
your weight
coconut
loss as
oil
you do this over a
in your
period of a couple
coffee.
weeks, then you might want to drop out the extra fat. Urge to snack, that means you need more fat and more greens, more vegetables. Those two
Mhm.
things will solve the problem. If you crave bread, you need more B vitamins. I recommend electrolytes, a good powder, and B vitamins and or nutritional yeast. You can get them in tablets. Very important just to make this transition smooth so you have no problems. Sea salt, don't be afraid to add more sea salt because you're
That's
gonna
what
need
I'll
more
put in
salt. You're
my
gonna
drink,
dump
my
more fluid on this
lemon
program,
water
and so you have to
into
replace
sea
it.
salt when
The
I'm
best time to
fasting.
exercise is when you're fasting, so in the morning. Okay, it's actually you'll get better benefits. Realize that it could take longer to adapt, but the way that you know you're in hardcore ketosis is that you crave nothing.
That's right.
You're not even hungry anymore.
It's true.
That's when you know it's really working.
It's a
Better than
thing.
any other test. This should give you the next layer of information or knowledge you need to know, and I will see you in the third video. Hey, if you're liking this content, please
So
subscribe
this is a
now,
series.
and I will
We'll
actually
get
keep
through
you
some of
updated
this
on
third
future
video,
videos.
but I don't know if we're gonna get
Now, I have done a lot of
how
videos on
long
the
it is.
ketogenic diet, but I wanted to include a new video for beginners with all the updates, but I want to make it really, really simple.
You guys should have so much knowledge at this point on the types of food for your that you're rocking currently and all the types of foods that are catering to that body type and the foods that you should eat to get out of those ailments that you have, the fatigue, the cloudy brain, the overweight, the obesity, the tiredness, the mood swings, the irritability, crankiness. So we've learned a lot thus far. We'll go ahead and start into this third video of his, and there's one more after this because there's 4 different body types. So he is trying to tackle the eating for all of this. This is Dr. Berg, Berg. He has I think 2,800 videos at this point, and literally you can type he's dedicated his entire adult life into medicine around or his studies around the medicine as fuel, as food, from your food, not medicine. Even though he is a doctor, he's all holistic, all natural, and doesn't prescribe anything if he can fix it with supplements and just food in general or fasting. So his stuff is fascinating, and there's something for everyone. Literally, you can type in on his channel anything that you got going on, and he probably has a video on it.
So let's just start with the basics. What is a ketone? A ketone is not a fat, it's not a carbohydrate, it's not a protein. It's kind of a combination, or it has characteristics of both a fat and a carbohydrate, but it's not either. It comes from fat, but a ketone is an alternative fuel source. And the way that you get ketones is you simply lower your carbohydrates in your diet, or you reduce the frequency of eating. And this is why we recommend a low-carb diet with intermittent fasting. And that way you can maximize your ability to make ketones. Ketones have many advantages versus regular glucose fuel. Number one, it will increase your oxygen in your body. Number two, it increases your energy. Number three, it supports the brain. In fact, your brain prefers ketones over glucose. Same thing with the heart. If your heart is damaged or your brain is damaged, ketones are the answer, and they can bypass the mechanical damage pathways and feed the tissues directly. Most of the body tissues can run in ketones, but some parts need glucose. And this is the confusion that people have. They think they need to consume glucose to get glucose. No, there's something called gluconeogenesis. Okay, glucose, new, genesis, the creation of. Your body can make glucose if it needs it from fat, ketones, proteins. You don't need to consume carbohydrates to get glucose. Now, it does take time to turn the fat into ketones. It's going to take between 3 to 5 days. It all depends on how damaged insulin is in your body, how damaged your pancreas is. If you are a pre-diabetic, if you are a diabetic, if you have insulin resistance.
It's not something that is going to take 3 to 5 months. It's just 3 to 5 days. If you think about how long you have been damaging your body or putting it through hell and back again, 3 to 5 days to me sounds so manageable, and it really is that simple. That's why I spent all those weeks trying to put the weight on, so I can show you just exactly how quickly your body does want to respond in a positive manner when you start removing those things back out of your diet, and in a short amount of time. Like, this is a 15-day thing, but he's talking about 3 to 5 days just to see a return on your investment in your time, your investment in your time towards bettering yourself. And just saying
it's going to take longer and longer to adapt. But by lowering the carbs and going on intermittent fasting, you'll get there a lot faster. That explains how to get into ketosis. You lower the carb and you lower the frequency of eating. Now, why would you want to do ketosis? What is the big benefit of doing that? Well, you're going to lower insulin, and most people have high insulin. Rarely does your doctor ever test you for insulin. They'll test you for glucose, but not insulin. Mm-hmm. If they did, they probably would find higher levels of insulin. The test that you would want to do is called HOMA-IR, and that will pick this up. Too much insulin causes insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is behind prediabetes. Insulin resistance is behind metabolic syndrome, high blood pressure, fat in the gut area right through here. And prediabetes leads to diabetes. So in reality, diabetes stems from high levels of insulin at a certain point. And so keto and intermittent fasting will lower insulin. And that is the big benefit of doing this. There's a lot of other benefits too. You can reduce fat in your liver. You can improve your cognitive performance. You can improve your mood. You can help decrease blood pressure,
Who
decrease
doesn't want all that?
inflammation, improve your energy, and decrease your belly fat. But the real big benefit that allows you to do this eating plan is your hunger goes away, okay? Without being hungry all the time, it
Let's
makes it
go
really
now,
easy to
Bo.
do long-term as a healthy lifestyle. And there's even an additional benefit if you're doing intermittent fasting, that's autophagy. Basically what this is, it's a recycling of garbage in your tissues. So all the damaged protein, the protein that your body doesn't need, it's clogging everything up. Guess what? Your body will recycle that and turn it into new amino acids. That's one of the big things about autophagy. To do this, you have to fast at least for 18 hours. So the combination of keto and IF work very, very nicely together, because if you just do keto hours, so it's one of the big in your tissues. So all the term as a healthy lifestyle.
How I would
and there's even
say about it with autophagy is it's like how you recycle, you know, your plastic bottles, or you recycle your cans, or whatever, the glass bottles. You're recycling because it no longer serves you any purpose. So you're recycling it so it can be used, broken down and used for something else. So the same thing with your body and autophagy is, if you allow yourself enough time in between fastings, your body will start to use all those dead cells and put it to a better purpose and regenerate. So now you're regenerating. Now your skin is getting healthier looking. You got acne, you got wrinkles, or any kind of psoriasis or eczema or any of those things. Your body will start to heal those things up on its own, because it's recycling all the bad cells, and it'll turn it into something positive that it can use and fuel for something else. So autophagy, but he's saying, like he just said, you can't even get there until you're fasting for at least 18 hours, which if you factor in from the time that you know, eat your last morsel, let's say you eat at 8 at night, right? And then you're not eating again until noon the next day, you can already get your body back, and you can get your body into that autophagy, and you can know that you're going to start having that cell regeneration, and it's going to start helping aid in all the things, like the growth of your hair, the growth of your fingernails, the health of your skin, health of your organs, how your body operates at a high efficiency on the inside. So it literally is from the inside out, but you have to have those 18 hours. That's when it starts. And then anything after that 18 hours is how long you gave that autophagy time to turn over and regenerate. So let's hear more.
An additional benefit if you're doing intermittent fasting, that's autophagy. Basically what this is, it's a recycling of garbage in your tissues. So all the damaged protein, the protein that your body doesn't need, it's clogging everything up. Guess what? Your body will recycle that and turn it into new amino acids. That's one of the big things about autophagy. To do this, you have to fast at least for 18 hours. So the combination of keto and IF work very, very nicely together, because if you just do keto without intermittent fasting and your metabolism is slow, you may not achieve your weight loss goal or your other goals, because it would take a very, very long time, and sometimes it's not going to work. Why? Because the frequency of eating in general will trigger insulin. So the frequency of eating is actually very, very important in relationship to you lowering insulin. All right, then you have this concept of a healthy keto plan versus dirty keto. Of course, we recommend the healthy keto, and this basically is higher quality ingredients, grass-fed, wild-caught, pasture-raised versus conventional type foods right here. With healthy keto, you're focused on nutrient-dense foods. With dirty keto, you're really just focused on keeping your carbs low. When you do healthy keto, you end up looking a lot better than doing the dirty keto. All right, the rule of thumb is don't eat unless you have hunger, okay? Unless you have the sensation of being hungry.
Dirty keto is
when you're doing the healthy version of keto and you're doing enough leafy greens and vegetables, okay? And you're doing enough healthy fats, and you're improving insulin resistance, you're not only going to be full, but you're going to be satisfied. Now, if you look at the pie chart here, we
Keyword,
have about
satisfied.
5% carbs of your total calories, and then 5% vegetables, which, by the way, actually adds up to a
So
lot,
there's
because if
veggies,
you look at the
proteins, and
carbohydrates and
fats.
vegetables, you minus the fiber, giving the net carb, it doesn't come out to a lot of calories. So if we look at the total carbs, which would include like berries, hummus, nuts, and seeds, there's a little bit of carbs in those, and you combine the vegetables, that's like 10%. Then we have 20% protein,
Hummus,
and then we have
that's more like a
70% fat.
Mediterranean diet.
Now, the fat looks like a lot, but realize fat is basically double the calories of other macronutrients. But if we actually look at an actual plate with your food on the plate, if you just look at it like this, to keep it really simple, half the plate vegetables, okay? A quarter would be protein and a quarter would be fat. But because protein and fat usually come together, that's going to be pretty
Fat
much
is in
half your
fat,
plate.
like in
That's what
your
it should look like. The
olive
benefit
oil,
of the
in your
vegetables are the vitamin
avocado,
C,
in your
the minerals,
vegetables.
other nutrients, and phytonutrients. Okay, I'm going through this really fast, but I'm just giving you a summary. In the next few videos, which I'm going to put in a link down below, I'm going to talk more about exactly what to eat when you're eating. But I wanted to give you the simple overview of all the most important things. So now let's just put it all together. Ideally, when you wake up in the morning, if you keep your carbs low, you're not going to be hungry. So you want to skip breakfast and push it forward to the point where your breakfast now becomes your lunch. So don't eat in the morning. You can do coffee or tea. So ideally, your first meal would be at lunch right here, and then your second meal would be at dinner. So you're doing 2 meals a day. If you keep
Or
this
French
within a 6-hour window, that will give you an 18-hour fast. Now, what's really magical about 18 hours is that's when the autophagy starts. So you start getting some really cool benefits.
Yeah. We heard that one.
The way that you're going to avoid snacking between the meals is you're going to add a little more fat with this meal and this meal to be able to go longer. Okay? And then as you start doing it and becoming more adapted, you can kind of cut back on some of the fat, because you're going to be burning your own fat. And your own fat is the healthiest fat that you can burn. But the key is this 18-hour fast right here. If you have to snack within your eating window, fine, if you need to do that. But we don't want to snack after the dinner all the way to the next first meal. You can drink fluids. You want to take electrolytes and B vitamins for sure, and sea salt, that's a necessity. But we recommend that you don't eat anything. The common foods that are really good to focus on would be pasture-raised eggs, okay, organic if at all possible, shellfish, fish, sardines, meats, organic, cheese. Now, a lot of people don't do well in cheese. Cheese has a lot of hormones. It's not good for people with prostate issues. It's not good with people that have allergies. So some people do not do well in cheese. Personally, I do a small amount of cheese, and if I'm going to consume cheese, it has to be grass-fed organic. I usually get European cheese, and I don't have a tremendous amount, but you can overdo it with cheese. Olives, that's a must. Avocados, lots of vegetables, 7 to 10 cups.
Avocados are
very
good.
beneficial. Nuts. For some people, they don't do well on that, especially if they're prone to kidney stones. You have to be careful with almonds, okay, as well as spinach. So I'd avoid those if you're prone to kidney stones. Also, seeds like sunflower seeds, perfect on a ketogenic plan. All right, here you have it, the basic ketogenic plan for beginners. So if you want more knowledge on how to create a healthy body,
you guys.
subscribe now.
That was a lot of stuff. That was a lot packed into our time on here. I hope that you guys got a lot of good details on how to move things forward for your body type. I will get the link in the description, or in the I'll try and put it in the description. I'll go back and change it and put it in the description, but also I'll put it down in the comments. And yeah, so you can find out what your body type is, because a lot of today's podcast and a lot of that information was based off of what your body type is. And if you don't know what your body type is, it actually, if just from listening to all of these things that we learned today, you should be able to look down and tell what type of body type you are. But If not, there's a quiz that you take, and it will tell you what type of body type you are. That way, you can start catering to eating the way that your body needs it to eat to get the weight off. Because if you are high, let's just say high in the estrogen part, if you have too much estrogen and you keep eating estrogen high foods, then you're just working against yourself. Even if you're doing your dieting or whatever, the intermittent fasting, it is going to help you. But if you're only intermittent fasting and you're only keeping it at like an 8 hour, 10 hour window, and you have all that time that you're putting all those meals in your food, and when you are eating those meals, it's the estrogen food. You're just working against the grain. So the best thing to do is to learn your body type, and then let's go from there. And that's going to help you reroute on how you tackle your meals, your meal plans for yourself. It's even great and beneficial to learn what your body type is for your husband or for your partner or for your children that might be a little overweight, and you want to just overall clean up the house, clean up everybody's you know, your biodome, the way that you look at food, your relationship with food, clean it all up. Clean it all, go on an overhaul. Go on an overhaul. Cleaning up, like spring cleaning, but for your metabolism, for your body, for your system, unclogging your arteries and getting your metabolism and your circulation and your inflammation and all of those things back in check. Start releasing that weight, start bringing that insulin back down so you can release that weight, start getting your cortisol in check to get that stress in check. And by doing that, that's going to involve a lot of other things that don't involve food or working out at all. That's going to involve you learning to do things that make you happier. Maybe you have a high stress job. You need to work in a 10-minute all out workout to get you back on track and get your body to release the good cortisol. I mean, the good. Oh, I can't think of what my word, I just forgot. For your body to release the good chemical to help you be happier so you can lower your stress level down and not I cannot believe I just forgot my word. Um and not cater to the cortisol level. So you're catering to the insulin, so you're catering to the fat. So a lot of this has to do with what your lifestyle is, making a lifestyle change, changing it for your body type. And to learn your body type, you need to know these things that we learned today in this podcast. It teaches you all about the 4 different types of body fat or body types so you can learn how to best tackle that fat on your body. So, endorphins, thank you. Ah, thank you. Coming in, saving grace. Endorphins, body releasing its good endorphins. So anyway, I will dopamine, yep. I will put the link into the description and also into the comments. If you guys have anything that you'd like to ask or regarding towards this, we are doing the 15-day challenge. I'm going to post it up every day. I'm doing this with you. I literally put weight on so I can show you in real time how effective this 15-day kickstart is. I'm doing it. I'm going to be weighing myself every morning of every day. I'm putting up the guidelines to follow each day to get you to where we need to be in those 15 days. And those 15 days land on Thanksgiving. So it'll be a perfect way for you to have a little fun on Thanksgiving, knowing that it's a reward for how hard you've worked and the time and the effort that you put into getting your body right and changing your lifestyle and changing the way you live life. You want to live a quality life. You don't want to live a life where you're just constantly tired and lethargic and moody and cranky and not in the mood for anything, not to play with your kids or be with your spouse or go out and meet up with your friends or any kind of, you're just moody. You don't want to live a life like that. You don't want to live a life where you have to take 14, 8, 10, 12, 3, whatever prescription drugs just to operate or function properly. And all of those prescription drugs are affecting your body in some type of way. So, to get it all in check, it's very simple. It doesn't cost you any extra money. It doesn't cost, you don't have to take any unknown or unfamiliar shots or pills or things that your body already you're taking enough of. This whole method is to wean you off the things that you don't need because your body's going to be working for you. You won't need those things anymore, hopefully. Some of you will, but for the most part, you're able to get off all of these things. You are. I've seen it with clients. Proof is in the pudding. I've done that. I've been there and I've seen it happen and I've seen it work. It doesn't happen for everybody, but also you have to learn to change your lifestyle, and it's all about how you approach it on your end. I can only lead the horse to water. I can't make him drink it. So, that being said, that's a wrap. We went a little bit over our 2 hours today, but there was so much good stuff in those videos, and we will follow up tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be day 3 of the 15. So I hope you guys are sticking to the program. Remember to follow on Kara Christensen TV at YouTube. My YouTube channel is where I'm going to be promoting the most of it. But I also am on Instagram, Facebook, and X. So do make sure that you go to the YouTube page to stay in tune. If you have any questions, just let me know. And tomorrow we're going to have a whole new topic, but I hope that you learned a lot today with this one. This was a good one. And we'll dive deeper maybe into some intermittent fasting and fasting in general tomorrow and all the benefits of fasting. But since it's all kind of catering into this 15-day challenge and where we're headed. But I am very happy that I had you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you both. Thank you, Hal. Thank you for all of my regulars that come in and support this stream, support this podcast. I really hope that you're getting some benefits to learning how to live your best life from the inside out. We only have this one life as far as we know, and we want to make it a good one. So we're working on having a better quality of life, and I'm hoping that I'm here to inspire you in some type of way for that. So thank you so much for joining, and I hope that you guys have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.